Yo, what's up, everybody? Subscribe to the channel, like the video, share, and all that good stuff. Now, I want to start off this video by saying Stephen A. Smith is a fuckboy. And he's not just a fuckboy because of this Kaepernick situation. He's been cooning for a long time, for a few years. And I used to really like Stephen. You know, he used to be one of my favorite commentators and writers because I found him entertaining. And I will still say this, he is good at his job. You know, no hate. I have no hate about me. If somebody is good at what they do, I give them credit even if I don't like him. And I definitely don't like Stephen A. Smith, but I will admit he is really good at his job. Now, with that being said, I don't watch First Take at all, but, you know, I was on YouTube and something came across, the recommended for you video. So it was a video of him and Max Kellerman debating this whole Jay-Z thing, this Jay-Z NFL thing, right? So of course, Stephen A. Smith is supporting Jay-Z on this issue, which is fine. I don't have a problem with that because if you watch the other video, I think it's a nuanced situation. But what I have a problem with is this. To kind of like throw shade at Kaepernick, he mentioned that Kaepernick had a Castro shirt on before. And, you know, the Miami Dolphins was considering signing him, but he had a Castro shirt. And that turned off some people. And even though Max Kellerman was defending Kaepernick, he talked about how bad that was. And I remember when this happened, I like Shannon Sharp a lot. Right? I remember when we first wore the Castro shirt, even Shannon Sharp was just like, yeah, you know, you didn't have to do that, you know, you should just concentrate on the one issue, on, you know, the black issues. I'm paraphrasing, that's not an exact quote, but that was basically the gist of what he's saying. And Shannon Sharp is pretty good on these type of issues. My thing is this: I hate the hypocrisy. It's a lot of hypocrites out here when it comes to this issue. That drives me absolutely crazy. And what do I mean by that? This is what I mean. Castro is a complicated figure, but in the media, especially those who don't know history or have an agenda, he portrayed in one particular light. Now, he's, how can I put this? To me, he's not a figure to be revered, and he's not a figure to be despised, unless, you know, of course, he killed your family, and I can understand that. He did kill a lot of people, or the Cuban government have killed a lot of people. I know, you know, especially like in South Florida, a lot of Cubans hate him, not just for like that, but for putting people in prison, for the seizure of property, of private property, and all that stuff. You know, it's a long history. You should definitely read up on the history of Cuba. My thing is this: Cuba was a dictatorship before Castro came about. But before Castro, they liked Batista. You know, he was a dictator that worked with the United States and was about their interests. Castro was a dictator that, you know, was a communist, so that made it bad. Like, so that's the type of stuff that I hate. Also, for black people too, you know, this is where it gets complicated, because I understand why Kaepernick would have a Castro shirt on. Like Kaepernick and Malcolm X met. They had a meeting together. While the racists, and this is where it really get me, Stephen A. Smith has Will Cain on his show all the time. A proud conservative Republican. And I'm willing to bet, I don't listen to Will Cain, but I know he's a conservative, and most conservatives love Ronald Reagan. He's a revered figure, and Ronald Reagan was a racist piece of shit. I mean, tapes just came out of him calling the Tanzanian delegation monkeys, He announced his campaign in Philadelphia, Mississippi, where those 3 civil rights workers was murdered. Ronald Reagan was just a real piece of shit human being, but they admire him. And here's the kicker, and this is how I relate back to Castro. Ronald Reagan and the U.S. government at the time had Nelson Mandela as a terrorist. They really supported the apartheid regime of South Africa at the time. They supported them. They was allies with South Africa, the racist ass government that treated black people not even like second class citizens, but like third or fourth class citizens, and not even human, to be honest. Now, what was Castro doing in that time? Castro sent troops to Angola, who was fighting against the South African military at the time. He sent troops to Africa, and he helped Angola defeat South Africa, would help lead to the collapse of that regime. And when Castro sent the troops, he didn't keep Cuban troops there like the United States do. Once the war was over, the troops went back to Cuba. You know? So that's get overlooked. Castro helped fight against the racist apartheid government of South Africa. Ronald Reagan helped fight for them and supported them. So, and Castro did this without the approval of the UN or the international community. Like, you know, he felt it was wrong. And that's why you can look it up right now. There's video of Nelson Mandela, when he was the president of South Africa, going to Cuba and being chummy with Fidel Castro. They hugged, and like Nelson Mandela was like, hey, when you come into my country, you know, and they're just joking around with Castro and stuff like that. You can find this video, because that video is out there. And people just choose to ignore that purposely. I think some people, like for Shannon Sharp, I don't know if he knows that, you know. I don't know if he read that deep into it, or maybe he did. Who knows? I think a lot of people don't know it, and the people that do know it like to ignore it, you know. And this is the type of stuff that don't get discussed on mainstream news, whether it's sports shows or news shows, because that's a complicated legacy. Yes, he did kill a lot of people, but he also did stuff like that. So especially if you have some sort of Pan-Africanist philosophy, if you just love black people, you are going to respect that. And Kaepernick is definitely pro-black, so that's why he would have a Castro shirt on, you know, and stuff like that need to be explained. Also in Cuba, you know, race relations is not perfect in Cuba by no means. I think one of the main problems, if you watch, I forgot what it's called, but I think it's called Black in Latin America, by Henry Louis Gates. I know some people don't like him, but it was a pretty good series. And when they went to Cuba, the Dominican Republic, Haiti, I believe, and I forgot what other country they went to. But anyway, in Cuba, what they were saying is, okay, so the government of Cuba, when Castro took over, declared racism is over, and racism can't be enacted in Cuba. However, that leads to a problem, because what they were saying in that documentary is that because the government said there's no more racism, it's hard to discuss race and the injustice that do happen there. So race relations in Cuba wasn't perfect under Fidel Castro, still not perfect now, but better than it was before he got into office, you know. So it is what it is at this point. And one other thing that I want to say, this is a slight criticism of Kaepernick. I respect everything that he has done. I support him 100%, but I I wish he would talk more. Because when he doesn't talk, and he didn't explain the Castro shirt, to leave it up to interpretations. If he would have explained how Fidel Castro fought against the South African apartheid government and sent troops to fight against them to end apartheid, that would have been out in the media. A lot of people would have never heard that before. It would have been a good discussion. But because he keeps it so close to the vest, because he don't talk, it lets the media run amok. And I know people say, well, the media's going to do that anyway. But, there's a lot of people that will be on his side that don't know this information either. So I hope in the future he becomes more vocal. Because I think we need a voice like his. He doesn't have to be a quote-unquote black leader, but it's always good to have people in the public that is talking about these sort of issues. And that's all I got for now. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like, and all that good stuff. Peace.